creating a podcast. Join 3 international students from Romania, Sierra Leone, and Rwanda as 3 journalists work together on the ins and outs of podcast creation.
I am a storyteller, and I believe that there's a power in giving voices to people and allowing people to tell their very unique story. For me, I feel like everybody have a unique story, one or the other, and then that story break might break boundaries, might actually create opportunities for people and give lessons to other people. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do a podcast.
I mean, if you were recording with someone in person, we suggest using either voice memos or something called the Voice Record app. It's called Voice Record Pro. And basically it looks like this. And it's just quite a nice one because it gives you the levels. And so, for example, I'm just going to press record here. It can show me if it's peaking. You can see at the top there. And I would suggest putting it a hand's breadth away from the person's mouth. So basically you don't want it too close because it will pop. And if you put it too far away or maybe on the table, you're going to get a really loose sound. You're not going to get a nice clear sound. So about here, if you're interviewing someone in person, you'd want to be swinging the mic, obviously making sure that you get the same distance from them. It can feel a little bit awkward. I'll just stop that recording because you've got to be fairly close to the person. So it's good to sit on 2 corners of a table, not to go opposite, because if you're sitting opposite each other, it's quite a lot of leaning. But if you're sitting side by side on a corner, you can swing back and forth and it's a lot easier and less awkward. And then so you then get your recording and it gives you all the different options to play it, to email it, to put it on YouTube, whatever you want to do. So lots of different options. You can hear the quality. Show me if it's peaking. You can see at the top there. And I would suggest putting it a hand's breadth away from the. So it makes a really nice clear sound. And I find that the technology in a phone is often better than a microphone that you could buy. So it's not a shortcut in the sense of using poor quality equipment. You're actually using some of the best equipment out there. So phones are good. The other way you can do it is if you're doing a remote recording, you can ask the person to record it on their phone. So let's say I was doing an interview with Joanna. I'd say, okay, we're on Zoom and I'm going to ask you to put your phone onto voice memos and hold it here. And you answer my questions like that. And at the end of the interview, you send that recording to me. And so that's called a local recording. So then I've basically got no interference. I don't have the Zoom crackle and I get a really nice quality experience. So, and it means that if the internet drops out, it's not a problem. You get a nice clear voice. Okay, so that would be my recommendation. We'll make this really spontaneous. So Joanna, I'm going to get you to ask the first question. Nicole ask the second, and then we'll see where we go from there. Let's go, see where it goes.
Okay, so Queen, do you have any interviewing experience?
Yes and no. I've gone to different talk shows. I have been on the receiving end. I've had conversations with people that are Zoom meetings and whatnot, and I'll be the host, but I've never really seen them as interviewing, as in it never struck to me that it would be podcast material. So yes, I've done that, but not with the intention, not with the thoughts.
What is your favorite part about talking to new people?
My favorite part about it is that I think everybody has a story and it gives them the platform to express themselves and say what they think and, give us a trip in their mind in some way. So that's what I want in any type of podcast or any type of conversation that I have with people.
Can you tell us about a time that you did something incredibly adventurous?
Now that's a little hard because I like to see myself as a person who, follows the rules and goes, on the I'm not so adventurous as such. I don't even like walking like that, or like going to new places. I really have to go with somebody to get the interest of that. But I mean, I dare myself to learn stuff. So I think that's the most adventurous stuff that I've done. I go in classes that I've never thought that I would go to, and I try new stuff, but I really keep it minimum.
The most memorable instances while you did this?
Okay, that will take me a moment to really think about it. What's something that I've done that's out of the... let me see, what have I done? I can't think of any event in particular, but let me give it a try again. Out of my comfort zone, okay. My relationships. I met a person and honestly, they did not fit the criterion of what I would normally go for. But they gave off, a good vibe, and they were nice and they were really trying to get me. And what? I was like, okay, let's give it a try. And it didn't go well. Just to spoil the story, it did not go well. But I just loved the way I knew that it would not be a long-term thing. I would not manage to commit like that. And he knew that, yet somehow the relationship was amazing and we learned a lot, and we grew to be vulnerable with each other, and up to now we're still good friends. So that was one of my less comfort zone moments. All right, Camila, do you have any question?
You guys are awesome. I'm just enjoying listening. If you were in the same room as us, Queen, how would this experience feel different? And what have you picked up from the vibe in the group so far?
I think if I were in the same room with all of you, one, I probably would be a bit louder and I would move a bit more, because I mean, you've already seen that I'm trying to express myself physically, but I know that I'm in a little box and I can only work with that. So I love the fact that I'm somehow feel comfortable with you and we're learning, yet there's no air of I know it all and I'm better and I'm teaching everybody. So everybody's coming with an idea, and we have room to learn and to grow. So it's amazing.
Thank you so much for allowing us to interview you, Queen.
Thank you, guys. Your questions were so hard, but I loved it.
Okay, you stop that recording. Well done, everybody. Seriously, that was great, because we didn't know where it was going to go. It was electric to watch, because it was like, what's going to happen now? So you're nodding, Nicole. What was your experience of watching that?
It really felt like we were doing something together. And then to hear someone really speaking from their heart. Yeah, I felt it. And like, that's the magic of the storytelling. It's giving me chills.
Beautifully put. You gave me chills when you said that. I wish we'd recorded that, Nicole, because it was that working together. We all allowed the silence to happen. Nobody panicked. Nobody thought, am I supposed to speak next? It was organic. That's the beauty of it. And Pooja and Mariam, you've set us up to learn that just in these last two little sessions, to allow things to breathe. And that made Queen feel comfortable to then let the silence happen and say, oh, I don't know what I'm going to say. Let me have a think, and nobody had to interrupt. And that is really, really powerful. And many, many, many interviewers do not understand that. So you're like on top level already.
To develop interest, we need to zero it down, we need to narrow it down and streamline our idea. So it is very important to find that story behind a topic. Understanding the why quotient behind that topic also helps us to understand what we actually want to focus on. And in the process, when we are talking to someone, when we are trying to get that story out of the person, we also need to understand their journey. If we are not finding it very interesting in the first 5-10 seconds, then we just scroll, right? right? These are some of the elements that we can consider to think that does our idea or does our story have some of these? Does it have emotion? Does it give hope? What is it aspirational, or is it encouraging, or does it have a suspense? What are the characters? What is the surprise element? Why is it that somebody should listen to my podcast, right? What is new about it in that podcast? What is that hook that you want to what you have for the listeners or for your audience?
And as I'm doing a podcast, I would want to keep that in mind. I don't want to have something that's too long and too boring. Now, how do I balance the interest and the time, making sure that maybe they're able to express themselves and I'm not interrupting them, but at the same time, I'm not letting them lag on? How do you do that?
What I have realized from my brief experience of working on a podcast is that we just let the conversation flow, let the person speak, and then not necessarily I think you have to use the whole of the interview, because I had so much of content that I was not expecting. When in my final product, actually I had restructured the original idea. I had to restructure the original idea twice. And of course, I did not take everything that I recorded. I took elements and bits and pieces, and then I stitched it together in a sense that it kind of made a story.
But I have the start of like an idea, but I wanted to know, so how many people are actually too many people? That's like one question, because I feel like too many people might be very confusing.
So I'm having kind of a similar issue because I'm doing my dissertation right now as well, and I'm doing a podcast for it, and I wanted to include a lot of people in it, but it's only 15 minutes. So the thing about it is if you add too many voices, exactly, it does get really confusing. So what I would do is, if you were to do a 15-minute podcast, for example, I would do a max of like 3 people for 15-minute podcast. If you were to do a longer podcast, you can add more people in, but you want to have your main people coming, or who are the kind of the shining characters throughout the entire podcast.
My idea, like my idea for the podcast would be, following what I do with my sister. And I was thinking my sister could be one of the shining, because she's like involved in the whole process. And then also if I could find like some people that answer our question, that's like a story, like the whole experience, I could put them, throughout the podcast. But I'm not gonna be able to do them, like all at once and like everyone's talking. So like I'll do an interview with one person, then I'll find another person and do the interview with another person, and just like put them head to head. Mm-hmm. And then my sister talk in between them, and like and then also me talk, because it's weird.
So it sounds to me that the structure is that you are the narrator. So you will be giving the introduction, I want to talk about my life as a graffiti artist, blah, blah, blah. Your sister is the main character. So you'll do a full-length interview with her, how did you get into this? Why do you do it? All the things that Pooja has been encouraging us to look at. And then the other pieces will be what we call vox pops. So they will be just little snippets. Yeah. So they're not interviews. They're just quick comment. So we call it a vox pop, but it comes from you probably know the phrase from the Latin vox populi, the voice of the people. So you will have little bits that come in like almost like music, they're like they kind of they add flavor to the story. So you introduce and you guide the interviewer, your sister's the interviewee, and then you have extra voices. And those extra voices, you don't need to say who they are. You don't need to give them names. You don't have to introduce them. They just pop up. So
that was my idea.
Like a montage. It's a great idea. I think that could work really well, Joanna. Mm-hmm.
And also, if there's a maximum of minutes or of the
podcast, we would like it to be around about, it can be really short. You can make a podcast that's like 3 minutes or maybe up to about 10, but I don't think we should go beyond 10 because you want to keep it snappy, and cutting makes things better.